And we are live. Hello, hello. Oh my goodness, who have you got? Ayn Rand.
And Aristotle.
Of course.
They were not invited, the gate crashing, but this is the classical liberal tradition. Hello, everybody. Hello from all of us. We're classical liberals. We love freedom. We love learning.
Yes.
We love excitement and adventure and discovery. All right, well, a big kiss from Ari and a big kiss from Aini.
Oh, this is
fabulous. I got those on Etsy, Etsy.com.
Did you?
I got them from Etsy.com. They're done with that 3D printing stuff. Yeah, some lady over there, she just produces all these busts of amazing characters. Yeah, we have them on display right here all the time. You know, Ayn Rand and Aristotle. They're always our best friends, no matter what we do, no matter what we're up against.
Yes,
we know we can draw from their intellectual instruments and tools and their history. It's fantastic.
Exactly.
We love learning.
Right. And, Welcome to The Reason We Learn. I'm so excited you're here. So for those who are just checking in, or just watching, I am here with my friends from Australia. We have Barboo and Prodos Marinakis. Please tell me I'm saying it right. I probably read it. I'm reading it.
No, it's Prodos Marinakis. Can you get that? Prodos Marinakis.
Got it.
But you can just call me Prodos. Prodos is good.
Very good. Yeah. Okay. So we are here tonight to talk about, well, many, many things. I don't know that we'll be able to keep it so narrow, but I titled this
or same for that matter.
Yes. Educating Creative Heroes, because I think of the two of you as creative heroes. People who have, yes, I do, because you have maintained yourselves throughout your lives, and in spite of all kinds of various.
Who we really are. That's right. Creative. We're who we really are. We don't pretend. Sorry.
Yeah, it's perfect. Okay, so for all of our sakes, why don't we just start with introductions, a bit about yourselves, what you do, what you think, and so forth. And obviously, my channel is mostly about education. So if you'd like to go trotting down that path, but I think let's first have each of you tell a little bit about yourselves and your background, and then we can dive into the education part. So who wants to go first?
Well, no, I'll do it for both of us. Don't worry about it. Now I'll tell you. If you want to know who we are, think about how we first met. That will tell you everything. Now, we met because of our passion for learning. At the time, years ago, I used to do a radio show on 3WRB, and do you remember Elian Gonzalez, the Cuban American boy, the little boy?
Yes.
Okay. He's the one who brought us together, because my show at 3WRB was a big. So Elian Gonzalez and his mum and some others tried to get out of Cuba. Okay, they wanted the fresh air of freedom, American freedom, and the mother tragically died. And so the little boy Elian got to America, and his relatives tried to keep him there, but Bill Clinton and his scumbag parasites wanted to send him back to his father, who was under the thumb of Castro at the time. But anyway, I did a radio show, and one of the people I interviewed was Professor Edwin Locke. Edwin Locke, one of the good objectivists. There are some who are stupid, but Edwin Locke is a trained psychologist. He was with the Ayn Rand Institute at the time. And we were talking, and I asked Dr. Locke, I said, but was it 9-year-old? Was it a bubble? Was it a 9-year-old? Was that what Elian was?
No, I think
about 9.
Was he younger?
10?
Oh, he was younger than that?
Yeah.
Oh, he was younger. Okay. Well,
okay. I thought he was older.
Right. Okay. Yeah, he was actually quite. Yeah, I thought so too. But anyway, so what I asked Dr. Locke was, can a child at that age even know the difference between freedom and slavery? So notice, I asked a question because I wanted to learn.
Right.
And suddenly in my email box came this email from Sydney Kendall, and that's Barboo's nom de plume, which she uses for her novel. See?
I see that. I have a copy.
Yeah. Okay. A Turn for the Worse. Beautiful novel. Perhaps we'll read a line or two later on. And she wrote to me and said, yes, a child of that age and even younger can indeed know the difference between freedom and slavery. So not only are we both passionate about learning, we're passionate about learning anything that liberates the human mind, the human soul. That it's not just learning anything randomly. It's specifically to equip us and equip the world for freedom, because there is nothing more difficult than living as a free person and defending that and promoting that against all who want to enslave us. You know that. Barboo knows that. I know that. So that really tells you everything. So that we met that way, just from an email written by Sydney Kendall, aka Barboo, and later on, some years later, I interviewed my now wife about her novel. She sent me a copy, and I interviewed her about this novel. And this novel is all about learning. It's about a little girl, Astrid, who's pitted against a teacher. Mr. Barboo, what's his name?
Eberhard Helton.
Barboo, speak.
Helton.
Thank you.
Eberhard Helton.
Eberhard Helton, yeah. We got it. Okay, don't repeat yourself. Everybody here is wondering what's wrong with her. She's repeating herself all the time.
Well, you never.
No, seriously, she's not like that all the time. Usually she forgets most things, but sometimes she makes up for that by repeating things. Which makes sense. It's balance. I love balance, Anyway, so Eberhard Helton, he's a teacher, but he's all about power and conformity. So this is the conflict. So you see, I interviewed Barboo about her novel, once again about learning, and I wanted to learn about it. I was overwhelmed by the novel. It was such a beautiful concept, so beautifully, elegantly written. And then this is our background. This is the background that counts, right? And then I started a global campaign, then called Walk for Capitalism, then renamed Celebrate Capitalism. And that's held events celebrating and promoting capitalist ideals in over 43 countries in over 250 cities around the world. I say it's the most effective, best leveraged pro-freedom campaign ever launched in history. Of course, you don't know much about it because I never promote stuff. I just do it and then I move on. But Barboo was involved with that as well in Cincinnati. And am I getting tiresome here?
No, I'm fascinated. Keep going. Tell me more. Okay.
Isn't she nice? Because by this stage, Barboo would be kind of. If I was saying this story, Barboo would normally be going, "Oh, yes, darling. Oh, yes, please continue. Yeah." And under there, she'd be checking her text. Oh yeah. Right on, man. You rock. Yeah. So anyway, so as part of this global campaign, Celebrate Capitalism, I wanted someone, because I had very strict guidelines, because we had anarcho-capitalists, libertarians, objectivists, Christians, atheists, all sorts of people. So I developed these 4 guidelines for the worldwide campaign, and I wanted to have some cartoons to represent each of my guidelines to lighten them up a little bit. And Barboo offered and sent me her illustrations that she just donated. And that was the moment I thought, I actually noticed her. That was the moment I noticed her, because they projected such benevolence and delight about life and the universe, about creativity. I thought, who the hell is this? Because, when you're doing radio and running campaigns, you bombarded, I'm sure I mean, here we are bombarding you, Deb, so you know exactly what it feels like. So yeah, and from that moment, I started conceiving this idea for a fairy tale using these 4 characters that were created for the campaign. And so we started working on this fairy tale. I did all the work, of course. Like now at home, I do all the cooking, so nothing has changed. And
she's just going, wait till it's my turn.
Yeah, okay, Barboo, you pick it up from here. Come on, because this is all about learning,
and then we'll talk about
learning for freedom, being equipped to fight the good fight, because nothing else matters more than that.
Exactly.
And see, Deb, she's an educational entrepreneur, right?
Is that what I am?
She's an educational
Okay.
entrepreneur. That's what you are. Hey,
I guess so.
Yeah, go on,
I guess so. I don't think of it as much that way as I think of myself as sort of a I don't know what you call like a champion. You know, that education, real education, capital E education, not that crap schooling thing. It needs champions. I mean, we need people to remind people what an education is.
Americans don't wait for permission. And you, Deb
Real
Philman, are an American.
Yeah,
real Americans, right?
Yeah,
they don't wait for permission. Yeah, Alexis,
you said something. You said something a little bit ago that I want to go back to. You said that one of the hardest things to do.
Remember that.
One of the hardest things to do is live in freedom. Lives a free person. Now, there are two ways to take that. There's the way to take it like it's very difficult to find real freedom. Even right now in America, we don't have it. But the other way to look at it is that people don't really want it. That like it takes a certain mind to be able to embrace it and be comfortable with the uncertainty and the insecurity that comes with freedom. And you have to appreciate that. And you have to be able to conceptualize that and get over that fear in order to do it. So it's actually hard to do because it takes courage and it takes virtue of the real kind, not the bullshit kind.
You're so right. And it takes skill and practice. Mm-hmm. It's not enough. It takes familiarity. One of the key principles in the global Celebrate Capitalism campaign was my motto. The motto, actually, which got me into trouble with my fellow objectivists, was Celebrate Capitalism. It's not about money. It's about freedom and creativity. And I actually got a phone call from a good objectivist friend of mine who said, or two of them actually, who criticized me, said, "What are you trying to do? Appease the left? It's not about money. What's wrong with money?" And I tried to explain. I said, actually, freedom and capitalism being the system of freedom, are not about money per se. They're about freedom and creativity. When you have freedom and you develop your creativity, then some people will make money. Some people will start schools. Some people write poetry. You know, some people will start a punk rock band like I did. I mean, you know, so that's freedom. You know, and everybody benefits from everybody else because you've got the freedom to produce and trade, to exchange. Right. So I got into trouble for that, and I had to change my bloody motto, or else, you know. So there I am, little conformist, little Aussie conformist. You know, I don't have that Aussie. I don't have that Yankee fortitude. I'm just sorry. Bubble?
I said I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I know. But thankfully, I don't feel embarrassed about it. But anyway, so So
I agree with you. Actually, I agree with you because people who become teachers, like, not the ones who go into the public school. I mean, people who decide that my calling or the thing I want to do in life is teach are certainly not doing it for the money. And the ones who are good leave teaching in the schooling system, not because they're not paid well, is because they have no freedom to be creative, no freedom to actually teach and facilitate and help the child learn. And they can't live that way because their drive is to promote freedom of the mind. And if they can't do it, they leave. They're like, why am I here? This is a waste of my time. And they leave. And the only people who stay are the ones comfy cozy in that little system.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Even with great entrepreneurs, and millionaires and billionaires, you know, if you look at their life, actually, they didn't even set out to make money. They just set out to create something that they loved. And even if it didn't create money, they'd probably still be doing the same thing, just doing it part-time or in the shed. Yeah. Right. Oh, seriously. You know, like the money comes as a surprise to many of these entrepreneurs. So, So freedom and creativity, that's what we're all about. So now you know everything you need to know about us, Deb.
Everything.
And everybody listening, hello from Australia. Barboo and I are in Melbourne, Australia. And I'll tell you one more thing I left out, by the way, why Barboo came to Australia. Now, she's an only child. And, you know, there are a lot of cliches and, stereotypes about them. And sometimes they're right. And only childs, as I call them, get what they want from mummy and daddy. And Barboo happened to see a photo of me on the internet. And she said, Mummy, I want one of those. I want one of those. And Mummy said, of course, darling. And her dad, Al, may he rest in peace, a beautiful guy, Navy guy, said, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. And she came and got me. Yeah.
For real?
That's right. For real.
Okay.
She just swooped in, right? You know who I am? You know? Like, yeah, I'm an only child. When she said that, I said, okay, go surrender. Okay, don't shoot. Hey, hands up, don't shoot. That's it. I like that one. I'm going to use that for a T-shirt.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, no.
No,
the
don't
big
do
lie,
that.
the big lie.
I just recur, the big lie. I love, big lies. Very popular, actually.
Yeah.
Very effective, big lies.
Big lies are
The
very
postmodern-
popular and effective, and unfortunately.
They're very effective. They have great leverage, big lies. It's an interesting issue. I've been studying that a lot. But anyway, Barboo, what do you got to say for yourself?
So,
go on.
I want to hear from Barboo over here.
Got me into such a silly mindset.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know
Doesn't
if I
everybody
can do
by
it.
now?
Yes, you can. I have
So
faith.
if I go to comments, right now, if I click comments over here on the right, will I be able to see everybody's rude comments?
Nobody's rude.
Holy cow.
Everybody's happy.
Okay.
All happiness. All
Everybody's
happy, joy. Yeah.
You're insane, a lot of you. You're crazy. No, really. I'm not kidding now. Sometimes I joke. This time I'm not. Barboo, go.
Okay, well, I was an unusual little kid. My mom, before she ever, when she was a teenager, she started thinking about what she wanted to do and how she wanted to interact with a baby when she finally had one.
Hey, don't go on too long, because I've got stuff to say as well. I know.
No.
Oh my goodness.
A day in the life of the Prodos and Barboo family.
Y'all are hilarious. Okay.
So my mom had decided that she would talk to her baby and on the things that you do every day, bathing and dressing and all that kind of stuff, that she would do things like hold up a little T-shirt and say, this is a yellow shirt. I'm putting it on you. Now I'm putting on here's your pants, pink pants. I'm putting on your pink pants and so forth. And she did this with bathing and with eating and everything. So every day I got a similar version of language kind of organized. And also another thing about me was that when I was born, I only weighed 4.5 pounds. Wow. So I had to stay in the hospital for 3 weeks in order to get up to the 5 pounds that you had to be in order to go home. And my mother talked to the night nurse. That's when she went, was in the evening. And the night nurse said, your baby doesn't sleep much at all on my shift. And the day nurse tells me she doesn't. What?
You can find out all this information here on the website, barboo.com. There's a video. There are videos, a series of videos that Barboo and I are making.
It's true.
All this stuff.
He does have, it's true. Yeah. She has her story there. But do you want to go straight to Prodos?
Honey, I just wanted to tell this part because of what might come next. Okay?
What might come next?
Just a little bit.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Okay. An uprising, that's what.
So the point is that, so I didn't sleep much. And then I got all this interaction with my mom. And by the time I was, before I was walking, I was speaking in full grammatically correct sentences. And at the age of 2, I began to abstract philosophical principles.
That's true.
Which led me to the position that by the time I was 5, when I found out that school was compulsory, I began giving my mother arguments about why that was wrong, why that was bad for freedom, because the principle had been violated by the law. And I had all kinds of objections right off the top of my head.
Now, did both of you go to the government schools in your respective countries?
Well, I grew up in Adelaide and Richmond in a Greek sub-community, and we went to public schools. Public schools for me. So actually I spoke Greek because growing up in the Greek community, I spoke Greek before I spoke English. And when I first started speaking English, because I'd learned a lot of English from TV, which was very American, I actually spoke with an American accent, and I actually thought Australia was a state of the United States. And I used to love Superman, truth, justice on the American way. And when I found out that we were not, I felt very betrayed. Very
Did
betrayed.
you? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to be an American? But as it happens, Australia is actually the most pro-American country in the world, bar none. I'm talking about the people, the citizens. We love America, and Americans and Australians, they get along so well. They're so compatible. Americans are a little more serious, but they're like so full of energy and enthusiasm. Americans. People say. I remember I had an argument once with somebody because they said, "Oh, America's the most Christian nation on the planet," and I said, "That's true. It's also the most atheist nation on the planet because the Christians do Christianity really, really well with full energy, and the atheists do atheism really, really well with full energy because Americans do everything with all their frickin' energy. That's America. That's American. It's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Happiness means you take control of your energy levels, of your enthusiasm, of your seeking of goals. That's America. It's a truly a miraculous thing.
And that's what I feel like is literally under assault, is the very core of our nature, so that it's, they'll call it whatever they want to call it, but when we get rid of all the word salad BS, what it comes right down to is there is an evil right now that's propagating through our schools that's trying to destroy America. And I don't mean the geography of America. I mean the principles, the values, the ideas, America's ideas. It's ideas. That's it. They're trying to crush it and destroy it. And that's what bothers me, is I feel like I'm trying to save America. It's a pretty big goal, but my little tiny part of it.
Yeah. Well, there are a couple of countries on Earth which are more than just countries. They represent an ideal, and both America and Israel would be the current two countries that are not just nations, but are an encapsulation of a deep human principle of freedom and justice. So really, I always say that every tyrant has if you want to succeed as a tyrant, there are two people you have to murder: Aristotle and Moses. You get rid of Aristotle and Moses, then you have no obstructions. You've got a clear run for tyranny. That's it. It's as simple as that. And the postmodernists, like the jihadists, that's what they're wanting to do: destroy, dissolve, pervert, subvert Aristotle and Moses. It's a very interesting subject.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And so one of the things, I know I've spent far too much time already talking about the negative side of this, but now what I'm trying to do with my channel is I'm trying to pivot it to help parents understand what they'll be missing out on if they don't walk away from this. So we know the danger of going into public school. We know the dangers, but what I don't think people really comprehend is the wonderful thing that is to be gained, the positive, the filling up of the child if they are not in there. And I want to tap into that because that's, and I feel like the two of you I see as sort of almost like ambassadors of that, because that is the spirit that you put out there, and you're both very creative people, and you're both people who say, like, I want to make something from nothing and I'm just going to do it. And yet you both survivors in the sense that you did go through schools, and they were obviously they were suboptimal in every way for your type of personality and philosophy. And yet you overcame. And probably
Barboo's story is more full of tension. I mean, I tended to deal with some of the conformity, and it never bothered me because I didn't comply anyway. But neither did I rebel. So what I did, and I found the solution through my love of learning and my love of teaching. So what I did is, I was pretty good at school. Loved physics and maths and chemistry, and I was pretty good at it. And I learned most things at home on my own. So I kind of homeschooled myself. So yeah, I would spend every cent I could on even as a kid, looking up books on physics and maths and practicing things and trying to read through the original works of Euclid and going over it and over it again. You know, very stubborn brain. But what I would do is I would make it my job to teach my fellow kids. So I would learn something, and rather than be bored, which I never was, I would actually really enjoy showing kids that couldn't get it how simple this thing was to learn and how fascinating it was, because I learned my physics and my maths by reading, even as a kid, the historic literature. You know, I went and read Euclid. I went and read Archimedes. I went and tried to read all the original works. I, dug until I could find copies of those works, and I would learn from them. I taught myself how to do the Lorentz equations for the special theory of relativity, which is actually really simple. It's just straight algebra. People think, oh, Einstein, special theory of relativity. No, it's actually it's a cinch. Really, anyone can learn it. So yeah, that's what I love doing, learning stuff and then showing people how simple and straightforward it is, how lawful it is. It follows the laws of nature, the laws of logic, and passing that on. There's nothing more beautiful to me than seeing someone realize something and learn something that they didn't know before. And realize, wow, I have that now. It's
like a drug.
It's
so that is one of my favorite things about teaching, is watching that aha moment.
Tingles up my spine. I'm actually getting tingles up my spine just thinking about it. Barboo, can you come around here and give me a shoulder massage for a sec? That's all right. I'm getting so...
Well, tell me about the Creative Heroes project, the specific project that you do. Don't you have a project?
Okay, well, actually, you're right. Actually, I didn't know you knew about that. But it's kind of in the works. It's the you're talking about the Encyclopedia of Creative Heroes.
Yeah.
The Eurekapedia. Okay, well, it's still got a lot of work to be done. But the idea there is to look at history and historical characters. And there's a couple of goals. One of the goals is to find out, to explore the relationship between creativity and freedom, between free thinking and freedom. And one of the things that I've noticed is that, and I'm not the first one, not by a long shot, is that independent brilliant minds move themselves to countries and to pockets where there are where there's a particular kind of culture. So what I want to try and do is show empirically the relationship between creative thinkers, original thinkers, and freedom, and of course the converse, the oppressors of freedom. So to show that, I once interviewed another very interesting objectivist. I don't know what he's doing these days, Professor Darrell Wright. He was with the ARI. If he's got any brains, he won't be with them anymore. But I did an interview.
Tell us how you really feel.
Sorry?
Tell us how you really feel.
Oh no, I don't think it'd be appropriate. But I did an interview with Darrell Wright called "Coercion and Consciousness," which is something that Ayn Rand really pioneered our insights into. That coercion and consciousness, which means coercion and creative free, thinking and free will, how they're incompatible and why, how they're incompatible. But anyway, so the Encyclopedia of Creative Heroes is going to attempt to look at the methods used by creative people and the kind of principles and values, the geographic movement, all that sort of stuff. It's I don't know. It's very exciting. Is that what you wanted to know, or is that?
Basically, I did, because again, I'm not. I've been saying, but in different videos, so in different ways and in different places, I've been trying to help people understand the connection between freedom, free thinking, and the ability to function as an individual, and all the good things. Like, I mean, all the
Yeah.
things that make human life better are because the people's minds were able, who invented those things or thought of those things or whatever, they were free to do it. And that when we grab onto an ideology that says individualism bad, individualism selfish, we must teach for the collective, John Dewey. You know, like we must do useful things for the collective, and that we're actually, they might say, schools will say, we want creative, critical thinkers. We want to inspire creativity and let each child reach its full potential. They're lying to you. They're literally lying. Now, they may
you are
not
so right. Yeah.
They may not know they're lying because their minds have been so like adulterated over the same process that they think they're telling the truth, but they've bastardized the meanings of the words. Critical thinking doesn't mean what they think it does. Creativity doesn't mean it. And so they're lying. Even without lying, they're just like, oh, we're going to do this. And so the parents go, oh, this is great, only to discover there's no art, there's no shop, there's no this, there's no that.
Deb, to accuse them of lying is actually to be too kind. Too kind. There are worse things than lying. At least if they were lying, it meant that they understood what they were doing. No,
exactly.
Critical race theory is not critical. It's got nothing to do with race or racism or racialism, and it's not a theory. No. Now, I've been doing a lot of work on this. The key to understanding this postmodern project, like understanding all postmodernism, is to understand the nature and role of what Ayn Rand identified, the anti-concept. The anti-concept is the key. So what the postmodernists, the CRT people, have done is what I call anti-conceptualated the term race and racism. It's a kind of a cute word. Like, I don't want to call it anti-conceptualizing because it sounds too prestigious, too kind of highfalutin. But anti-conceptualating, as in, copulating, as in, screwing over. But anti-conceptualating the term, is that right? Is this a kids show? I mean, kids these days, they're ruder than I am. Holy cow! I mean,
you said copulating. I think we're good. It's fine.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, thanks.
They don't teach vocabulary anymore.
Look it up in the dictionary. Get an education.
They'll be right into the Urban Dictionary, going, "What? What is that?"
Oh yeah. That's what I would do. Good on you guys. Okay, so yeah, anti-conceptualating. So that's understand the anti-concept. Now the anti-concepts. Can I just read Ayn Rand's definition of it?
Sure.
Because this is the key to both solving the problem of deplatforming and also stopping postmodernism. I've got it here. So an anti-concept, I'm looking at my computer, so I can't see what I look like when I'm reading this. So if I look weird or start grimacing in odd ways, because I haven't got the visual feedback. All right. So an anti-concept is an unnecessary and rational. An anti-concept is an unnecessary and rationally unusable term designed to replace and obliterate some legitimate concept. So notice, racism, the anti-conceptualated version of racism, is a unnecessary. It makes the term racism and race rationally unusable, and it's designed to replace and obliterate the legitimate concept of race, racialism, and that sort of stuff. So the use of anti-concepts, this is from the Ayn Rand letter, the use of anti-concepts gives the listeners a sense of approximate understanding. But in the realm of cognition, nothing is as bad as the approximate. Now, actually, it's a pity Ayn Rand didn't focus further. I'll just go back to my screen. It's a pity Ayn Rand didn't go further into studying anti-concept, because anti-concepts are the key to enslavement. With one qualifying point, that they make slavery look innocent. Because what an anti-concept does, it sets up a dynamic. And you find this both with postmodernism and with Islam, at least a certain interpretation of Islam, because Barboo and I have studied Islam, the Quran from beginning to end for over a period of 2 years. Yeah. So not only do you enslave people, but you create slaves who are then motivated to enslave others. Has that viral quality. And
Sounds very
AntiConcept,
familiar, doesn't it?
doesn't it? Doesn't it suddenly bing, 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 bing? You think, hey,
And all the
Prodos said that
while you're telling
on my
them that
show.
you're
It's a
freeing
bird.
them. You're liberating them. We're liberating these children. We're
Exactly.
liberating them.
And you know something? You mentioned the big lie before. Well, this idea, one of the big lies, as I'm sure everyone listening will agree, and if you don't agree, then I hereby deplatform you. But at least in my heart, you are deplatformed forever. So these postmodernists say that America is rife with systemic racism. I say unto you, America is a nation of systemic emancipationism. Look at the history. Everything America has done, it has been to liberate people. And when it finds itself within, once it identifies something is a form of enslavement, it will move heaven and earth. It will sacrifice hundreds and thousands of its own citizens to reach emancipation. America is a nation of systemic emancipation. Take that to the bank. That's a fact.
I agree.
That's a fact.
I agree.
And you know, critical race theory, if it was really about race, you know what the test is? The test of whether critical race theory has anything to do with race is look at how it deals with dissenting blacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? So it's got nothing to do with race. It's got to do with crushing free thought. Mm-hmm. I could say more about that, but I'm going to stop. Thank you. Thank you. Please.
Yes.
Please. My modesty prevents me from going too deeply.
You got applause.
Oh my
sir.
God.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just check the comments. I just check the comments. You wanker. Oh, sorry. You okay?
Where'd he go? Where'd he go? He disappeared.
It's a super chat for $20.
Yeah.
The wrong button.
You back? Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Here I am. Yeah, sorry. Someone called me a wanker on the comments, and so I kind of was going to hit them with, and I hit the wrong button. Hit
someone
myself
called
instead.
you a wanker? Where did someone call you?
No, I'm just kidding.
Where?
No.
They said he was Styx's dad. They said nice of you to have Styx on. Oh,
yeah. I know. Hi, Alice. Hi. What's the guy from? I get called all stuff because of the freaking hair and the bling, you know. Yeah.
Oh, but you could
take the punk rocker out of a band, but you can never take it out of something like that. Whatever. All right, go on. Yeah, I'll tell you something.
Okay.
You want to see what fighting looks like? I'll show you this.
Uh-oh.
I'll show you this thing. This is not rude. This is a poster that we just purchased. My lovely wife just purchased for us from this wonderful cartoonist, Bosch Faustin.
Oh, yeah, I know Bosch.
What fighting looks like. Yeah, that's Bosch Faustin. He did that. Yeah, that's what fighting looks like. I don't care whether you like Trump or not. I think he's fantastic, but that's what fighting looks like. That's what. Yeah. So look him up. You should get him on your show. He's a wonderful guy. I don't know him personally, but Bosch Faustin. Go on. I'll write it down while you guys are talking about more interesting things.
He's writing it. He's like on his way. I could have put a banner, but all right. So
no. You're too good for that. You're too good for that.
So bloody name. One of the things Prodos, you said that you read a lot and you taught yourself outside of the school. Yeah, that's Bosch Faustin if you want the cartoonist.
Yeah. Check him out, guys. He's really good, and he's an objectivist, and he's a bit of a nutcase sometimes, but I love him.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. But I want to touch on the fact that you said that you still were teaching yourself and so forth. Now, one of the things I hear from parents a lot is, well, that's great. And I would love that for my children, but they don't, they were so damaged in the schools, or they don't read, or they didn't teach them to read properly. And now they're...
There's no child that doesn't love learning. There is no child that doesn't love learning once you invite them to learn. Come on. True or not?
What I agree. I think what they're saying is, if you have, let's say you have a 10 or 12-year-old and they've been since kindergarten languishing in this hellscape known as public school.
Languishing. It's a beautiful word, languishing.
And
I wish it meant something positive, though. Yeah.
I know it's, but now what can one do? And maybe, Barboo, maybe you can answer this. What do you think one, a parent can do to help invite that child to learn when they've been told for so many years, sit down, shut up, and do what I tell you to do? It's like, you will learn what I say you should learn. Oh, P.S. It's not really learning. You're just going to memorize the ideas I already have because they're indoctrinating. So that's a little bit of a damaged mind. How do we sort of help that child? Because again, I want to offer to parents, I want to encourage them and give them hope that they can be rescued.
Do you know any parent that has a child like that personally?
Yes.
I mean,
my own. Look at me. My own child who turned 13 just yesterday. Okay.
Oh, 13, that's any. Yeah, 13 is a very exceptional age for boys and girls. Like it's.
But even so, this whole last few years, she started when she went into public school, which was not my choice, but she went into public school by force, and then she started this bright, creative, love to draw, love to dance. You put on any music, she would dance. The girl was a natural born choreographer. She could just make moves to anything. Oh my God, she was brilliant. Wow. And then as each year went on, my bright, shining, outgoing little child became more withdrawn and more quiet and more reticent. And her teachers would tell me, like, she just always has to be the center of attention. She's this, she's that. Like, they made such negative comments about what I thought was the best thing about her, was she was fearless. And they just I kept trying to deal with that with the teachers that wouldn't listen. And by the time this kid got to middle school, she was just like, heads down. I'm just going to get along, do what I got to do to get through this situation. And she was very hesitant to be homeschooled when I pulled her out. She's, her grades were terrible.
Wow, yeah, good for you. That's fantastic.
But her first year, it was actually her first week. And I say homeschool, but I use a virtual academy that uses mentors, not teachers. Anyway, long story. But it's not like mommy's the teacher. I've hand-selected things. But her first week of that, she said to me, Mom, I really have to thank you, because I thought I was going to hate school for the rest of my life. I thought they would never be any good. So she's at far sight better off now, and she's getting straight A's. She's doing really wonderfully in the school piece. But the rest of her time,
fantastic. I'm telling you, that fills me with joy. That story, that is a beautiful story.
And I was so happy. But this whole year, just like other kids, because she couldn't really go out, all her other friends had just disappeared into the fear and the paranoia. And she's been in her room when she's not doing her schoolwork. She's just in her room, and her only love now is Korean pop music. Like, she's a K-pop fan.
Korean pop music is great.
Yeah. But that's like, she's stuff. Just K-pop, everything. And when you try to get her to come out and do anything, the only thing she's taught herself to do recently is baking. She says, I stress bake. She stress bakes. But I'm trying to bring her back out of herself and and I can't reach her. She's just in her head. But real quick, I want to get to this. Jeff says, every military man is of the mindset that they are defending freedom. Your statement about emancipation was right on. Thank you. This comes from somebody with that background.
Jeff, thank you, mate. You're the best, mate. Good on you.
Yeah, he is the best. Jeff, we love Jeff. Jeff is awesome.
Oh,
so and DeVille up here gave us love and gave us thank you, DeVille. Yes.
We love even though this money is not mine, I just like to know that people are getting money and giving money. It's a very noble act, actually. Money is a beautiful thing.
These people are fabulous. So, I use my own. I mean, I don't mean to put her on the spot, but she's brilliant. All my kids, I think, are really smart, and they are so creative. But when I go and I tell that to them, they're sort of like, "Oh, not really. I'm not really, and I can." And so what? I know that I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. I know that and my kids are homeschooling, but there are a lot of parents whose kids are still in the school. And if they're not already involved in an organized activity organized by adults, like a sport or music or something, they're just doing the thing and going home and sitting home and doing the thing. And
I know.
It's because school has just squished that urge to be themselves. you know, and
Yeah.
they want to fly below the radar. They're just like, I just don't want to draw attention to myself.
In the comments, Val G says, could you do a family dance party to K-pop music in the kitchen while something's baking?
You know, that's so smart. And that just goes to show you, like, I suck.
Well,
how did I not think of that? Thank you.
Yeah.
See, this is why I love these people. That's fantastic. I'm writing that down. I get so, but this is what I'm saying is, even those of us who are in it, we need to almost support each other in this, just like this, because even when you know what you're supposed to do and you're like paying attention, you get so tunnel vision. So one of the things I'm trying to do now with the channel is move in that direction to help those parents who are in that, like, can I do something different? What can I do? How about this? How about that? Thank you, Valji. That's like a perfect idea.
Yeah.
So
putting out the alternatives, that's great.
Resources we need to create. I want to create like almost like a repository of inspirational resources for parents, for children, things that are not so in your face, like here's a lesson, here's a learning activity, but things that are like, this is awesome, cool information.
Yeah, people love people. So it'd be great for kids and parents, I think, to actually scour the earth and find role models, interesting people. Like I did a special once. I run these weekly when there was not when we didn't have the COVID restrictions here in Melbourne. I run weekly every Monday night these screen and study salons, these study groups for adults actually. But on one occasion, I presented a documentary. I got the screening rights from the filmmaker, and it was about hip hop and breakdancing and the international contests. And when you watch the interviews with some of these really brilliant breakdancers, you find such clarity of mind, such love of freedom and focus. That's inspiring. So it doesn't matter if it's K-pop or punk rock, it doesn't matter if it's sewing or baking. There are masters in those professions. Find them. If your little girl loves baking, wouldn't she like to meet someone who can show her something about baking and who for whom baking is their life, Or she like, you could find, I'm sure, a K-pop songwriter or K-pop dancer who would love to be on your show, and you could put your girl on with that person.
Oh my God!
Even if they're unknown. Oh yeah.
I walked into a room yesterday.
You educate yourself, you educate your girl, and you educate the K-pop guy as well, who probably needs some kind of education.
She would love that.
A proper job, wouldn't he?
Yesterday, her birthday, I walk in to say happy birthday to her, and she's sitting with her phone in her hand, crying. She's sobbing. I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, they won. And it was some band that was like, they were competing for something, and her chosen band won. She's like, I'm so happy.
Yeah,
you was just crying your eyes out how happy she was.
That's
like,
fantastic.
And I just said, that's wonderful. I didn't know what to say. I had no idea what was going on. But you're absolutely right, and I really should learn more about it.
Find people, not just neutral videos. Find people to talk with and deliver those people, make them available. Tell people that you are here to promote freedom and creativity in all its blossoming, marvelous variations. And I'm telling you, I over the years have interviewed some of the people who you never thought, I mean, even when my radio show was tiny, I stopped it years ago. If I approached somebody, I would ring them personally. I once interviewed Al Ruddy, the producer of Godfather 2, because at the time Al Ruddy was going to do a TV miniseries of Atlas Shrugged, and he and his scriptwriter Susan Black, who's a hardcore lefty, but actually had some really good ideas and understandings of Atlas Shrugged. I interviewed them on my show. I think the audio's up somewhere, or the transcript of it. I'm just saying, I've interviewed the Israel Defense Force. I've interviewed inventors, all sorts of stuff. These people provided they don't ask you how many people watch your show. In that case, down. But people who are true believers, they will love to make themselves available, either for not just for your show, but for the learning project, for the freedom and creativity project. Truly, these people want to be contacted. They want to be used. They want to contribute to young people. There are
and
millions.
You know what? So much
people
better.
around the world.
And because one of the great things
not just
about
America, Australia, Britain, New Zealand, Canada, Italy, France. Hang on, scrap France, but everywhere else. No,
nothing will
Sorry,
also Deb. Nothing will showcase quote unquote diversity better. Because the one thing about
diversity.
No, I know
diversity is an anti-concept.
I know it is. I know it is. But understand something.
Kill all anti-concepts.
Okay, I won't use the D word. Nothing showcases the fact that we are all one human race. Okay, we're all humans, right? None of this other BS matters. Then talking to creative people who are, they want freedom and creativity. They want freedom and creativity because there's nothing else they have in common. Like they could be from all over the place, right? That's the common denominator.
I was years ago. I happened to be before I was married. I happened to read or watch an interview, and it was about really beautiful women, not as beautiful as my wife, but just the next level down. Really beautiful women often don't get asked for dates because guys feel a bit intimidated, right? And that's
my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So. I beg your pardon? That's happened to you?
No. I just said back in the day when I didn't get asked for dates. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's not true, but anyway,
okay. I'm glad some of that broke up, so I couldn't hear it all. Sounded like girl talk, but yeah. So similarly, with some of these scientists and soldiers, and I interviewed Michael Yon, the embedded independent journalist. Very smart guy. I interviewed him. I interviewed all sorts of people all over the world. But I'm just saying, I just kept ringing people, asking them, and telling them about my show, what the point of it was. And it's amazing how many people say, yeah, okay, sure, that sounds interesting. And the point is to have such people that are especially of interest to youngies. Find them. Find people who make games, computer games. Find people who choreograph hip hop. Hip hop is actually freaking 50 years old now. I mean, it's old hat. Why do they treat it as something new? Breakdancing, spinning around. But just find them and deliver them to the kids and tell your potential guests that here's what we're doing. We're going to put this. We're going to include you as part of our kind of pick and choose our smorgasbord curriculum for young people and anybody really, but we're focusing on young people and find people who have that message of freedom and creativity and of reason. And another important thing, here's something. Here's a thought experiment. Okay, so imagine there's a table, and on the table, hang on, where's my little board? So so here's a violin. Okay, imagine on the table there's a violin. As you can see, I've done art.
It doesn't look like a violin.
She's trying to stifle my creativity. Did you see that, guys? Let's just check the comments. Yeah, stifling my creativity. Okay, fine, thanks.
No, anyway, the strings helped a lot. They needed the strings.
Does look nicer, actually. It sounds better with strings too.
Yes.
But imagine you have a violin on a table. Okay, so there's a violin on a table, and next to that violin, there's a bloke in chains. Okay, obviously that guy cannot play the violin, but removing the chains won't make him a violinist either, will it?
No.
Creativity is a skill. It's an art and a skill. So the thing about contacting interesting people is to find people who've worked hard to accomplish what they've accomplished,
Exactly.
often against all odds. There is no teenager that doesn't want to hear about that. No one, not in the world. There is no teenager, there is no kid, there is no adult that doesn't love to see a story of someone who produces something new, something unprecedented, something novel and beautiful, and work their butts off against all odds to accomplish it.
Well, you know what's
creative heroes, Deb.
100%. I love that. I love everything about this, because one of the things that I absolutely hated when I got out of.
Oh, sorry. Okay. No, I thought you were going to say but, because there's a but.
No. When I got out of high school, I remember feeling so betrayed, because I would start, when I went to college, and I started looking at the world, and by that point it was already a little late to like go down different paths, but I started noticing all the things there were to do in the world. But I was already 18, 19 years old. And I started realizing, well, who does that? I would watch a movie and I would see all the credits run and all the names of the people who did the different things. I'm like, someone does that job. Like, there are people who grew up to do that, right? Or even now, I'm watching like Game of Thrones, and I'm seeing the people making the costumes, whatever. And I love to sew. And I'm like, God, if only I had known when I was a kid, when I was a little kid learning to sew, if only I had known that this was like a potential thing you could do. I mean, it was out there, it was always there. But it was never shown to me as like, this is what costume designers and costume, developers and set designers, these people do. No clue at all of like the realm of possibilities. And so that's the first thing of just how wide the world is and how many wonderful things there are that you can do. Not just doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, like accountant, hotel manager, whatever.
I'd love to be an Indian chief. I would love to do
wouldn't that be great? That's what we used to say when I was a kid, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, which is now terribly insensitive and culturally inappropriate to say. But the other betrayal was I was never shown the process, and kids today are even shown less process. So it's like, it's almost like LeBron James emerged a basketball star. This person,
like a pressing of a button or taking of a drug, instant. No.
They don't get any visibility into like the fall down, stand up, fall down, stand up, fall down, fall down, fall down, stand up. None of that.
Yeah, the heroic journey. Yeah, absolutely.
You need that. Kids need to see that.
Yeah, they need it. And in America's DNA, America is a learning machine. A learning machine. Look at Ben Franklin. Look at Thomas Jefferson. Look at Abraham Lincoln. Look at Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was a Democrat. Ronald Reagan was a voracious reader. I think he had a photographic memory. Like there's a book actually about educating Ronald Reagan. It's called. It's very written very boring and dry, but the facts in it are brilliant. The author died not too long ago, but it's all about how Ronald Reagan worked at Westinghouse. No, General Electric. General Electric. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the guys there with an odd name, Bulware. His name was something Bulware, and how? Beg your pardon? So he introduced. Lahem Bulware. Sorry about that. But anyway, and so he introduced him to a whole lot of other literature because these guys were very pro-free market, and Ronald Reagan absorbed it, and he went around giving talks at the various General Electric plants. And by talking to people and learning and answering their questions about, what is General Electric, what is capitalism, he ended up moving to the other side. So I'm just saying, even Donald Trump, a learning machine. Look at what he's done. He ran these Miss Universe pageants. He's done, The Apprentice. He's a real estate agent. I'm just saying, America is a learning machine. And I'll tell you the real test that proves that America is a learning machine. Look at the U.S. military. Who's that guy that gave lots of money earlier? Oh,
that was Jeff Horton.
Jeff. Okay, Jeff, if you're listening, bear me out on this. During the Iraq War, now the American military is a juggernaut. Okay, you wouldn't call it like limber. You wouldn't call it nimble. You wouldn't call it nimble. But during the Iraq War, the US military completely changed the way it fought wars. And it learned from the Brits and the Australians. And it took that in. It took that in, and it wanted to learn from anyone who could do a particular job better than its own people. Its own people said, "Yeah, teach me, man. Teach me. We will master it." So if the American military of a nation can do that, then that is proof positive to me, beyond dispute, that that nation is a learning machine. Learning machine.
Right.
Yeah. USA,
now, I mean,
all
do
the
you
way.
think,
USA.
yes, Barboo.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wanted to mention something.
Interruptions. I've been interrupted.
You
Go
know,
on,
you
sorry,
said
darling.
that you thought that this should be that maybe you shouldn't do this, that it should be just me and Deb. And now it's your show.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna shut up for a moment.
Okay, thank you. Well, Prodos and I, we didn't get the progressive education or the woke education, and yet both of us were not that. I mean, he had a different approach, but especially I was not suited to the kind of schooling that you get with public education. And you know, he just, you can see how he is. He just made something of it for himself. But me, I was very frustrated because I had a certain way of thinking into things and wanting to take more time to really get involved. So it's not just the woke stuff that we're dealing with now. It's always been bad for a certain kind of mental development. And
Yep.
I don't think the kind of children you're talking about now, I don't think you can really help them while leaving them in the public schools.
No, I don't think you can.
Or
I've tried to tell
school
people
is
that.
woke.
Yeah.
We need to have, I got all blurry. Anyhow, we need to have,
Your camera will refocus. Don't worry.
okay, we need to have homeschooling or other forms of schooling that are appropriate for minds that really are serious about understanding and learning, taking time, not working to the schedule of the class, of the teacher, of what's supposed to get done by a certain time in the school year. A child like me wants to read, make notes, look, then find out more information about that. And you don't want to be on somebody else's schedule.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to homeschool way before it was legal. And that's the main thing I want to say.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know there's any child that wouldn't benefit from being pulled out of this system, especially right now, because right now I actually find it to be abusive. It goes beyond being inadequate and substandard and all these things. It's abusive, actually abusive, like the Comperticos. And I think they are literally deforming these children in terms of their minds. There's not any other way to describe it. It's a deformity that they're producing. And they're producing people with no inner life. They're becoming 100%, I call it materialistic, not in the sense of things and stuff, but in the sense of your entire world is external. You have no thoughts of your own. Everything about who you are, everything about what you think is going to be fed to you from someone else. And if it's not, you feel terribly helpless and rudderless and have no idea what to think and do. And this becomes a crisis. So then you see them online, like attaching to a group, attaching to an identity, because without it, you're just like hanging in space. And I can't imagine, say I've never felt that, but I can conceive of it. And to me, it sounds like hell. Like if there's such a place as hell, it would be that. It would be this place where your mind is not your mind. It's just this thing that you're just hanging there waiting for someone to tell you what to do. You're a sentient being with no control, no agency, no ability to decide anything without input from others. I cannot imagine living like that. That to me would be a reason to kill myself. I mean, not to promote that, but I can't imagine it.
Yeah, these kids are like the slaves on plantations, and we need to liberate them at any cost. That's my view. And it's a war. It's a war of enslavement. It's a very insidious war, and I believe we will win. but I'm sure, as everybody agrees, it'll get a lot worse than it gets better. And everybody, the three of us, and I'm sure all your viewers, who even the one that called me a wanker, are doing their bit.
No, I think we just have to. The main thing that I'm trying to get across to people too, by sticking my neck out and doing this at all, is, hey, if I can do it, you can too. Like, open up your mouth and speak. And my kids used to be nervous about me just having conversations with random people we would run across, because I talk about ideas. I don't gossip. I don't talk about stupid things. I talk about ideas with anyone, any person, a guy at the AT&T store. I just talk about ideas. Yeah. And so Fantastic. Because my kids have been socialized in those schools to be like, what if they don't like you? What if this? So my eldest daughter today, and I were sitting at lunch, and I started to explain to her the power of seeing someone else speak out, how it has like a ripple effect, and other people see that and they are emboldened. And she remembered an example from her own life where she was reading a thread, I think on Instagram, and somebody posted about the Second Amendment, and it was all negative, blah, 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 blah. And she had somehow the guts, I guess she was not anonymous, to go in and say something in defense of the Second Amendment. And she said she was the only person in the entire, thousands of comments. But she said as soon as she did that, people just flooded in, like almost instantaneously, to say similar things. And she said, is that what it is, Mom? Is that why you do it? Is that why you will talk to anybody, come what may, about what you think? And I said, exactly. That's why.
In the Celebrate Capitalism campaign, which I mentioned earlier, I had a principle, a Prodos principle, which is called 1,001 people, 2 ideas. And here's how it works. You have 1,000 people over here with idea A, and you have 1 person over here with idea B. How many ideas are there? Just 2. They're just 2 ideas. So you've got 1,001 people, but actually 2 ideas. So for every individual mind, it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 or 1,000,000 people with the same idea. They're no better off. They've got the idea. Thank you, I've got it. All they need is 1 person over here to break that monopoly, that cognitive monopoly. And as soon as the human mind sees that something has alternatives, it suddenly snaps out of its slumber. And so that's what you just demonstrated, and that's what your little girl just demonstrated. 1,001 people, 2 ideas.
Right.
Very powerful. Very powerful. That's why numbers don't matter.
And freedom, is one of those things that if you use it, you have it. It doesn't matter what a piece of paper says. If you don't use the freedom,
hate papers.
Right? Then what's the point? It doesn't matter what it says on a piece of paper somewhere under glass in Washington, D.C. If you're so terrified to say what you actually think to the teachers, to the school board, to, your whoever, to anybody, your politicians, if you're like, oh, I didn't want them to not like me, they'll be canceled, I'll lose my job, then you're not free. You are literally not free. If you can't, my husband says this, if you can't say no, you're not free. If you're not willing to say no, you're not free. You're not free. You're fooling yourself. It doesn't matter if you have a nice car and a nice house and nice clothes and nice this and nice that and food in the refrigerator. You are a slave with better accommodations. That's all it is. Right. That's all it is. Exactly. Because you can't say no. That's what defines the free person and the slave. Can you say no to your masters? If the answer is no, you're a slave. Period.
Yeah. Now, of course, it depends a little bit on people's temperament. Some people can say no and say, screw the consequences. Other people are more sensitive and delicate, and they would like to say no, but they need to know that someone's going to back them up. So that's not a bad thing either, because sometimes these more sensitive types actually have other qualities and skills and ideas that their sensitive nature offers, which are more punch in the gut type, like me, for instance, never comes up with. You know what I mean? Like subtle, I ain't. But you look at someone like my wife, who's kind of gentle and sensitive, but there's things that she does and she thinks of that I couldn't in a million years come up with. So the people, if those people who want to speak up but are afraid to, let us invite them to come around and gather, and we'll say, look, we'll stand up for you. You know, you do your bit and we'll do our bit, because not everybody is built to be a soldier. Not everybody's built to go out in the front line. You know, I was in a demonstration, kind of a right-wing demonstration in Melbourne a couple of years ago, and there was all these postmodernist, anti-capitalist, Antifa type, and they were shouting out racist, racist. And they were coming along, and they were literally physically going to push us, this little group of us, off the street. We were just there with an Australian flag, defending, you know, our country and saying we love Australia. You know, the racist country, Australia, racist. You know. Anyway, so they were coming along, these young people, you know, doing their freaking stupid chant with this gigantic banner to push us off the street. And I went up in the front there, and I said, and I chose like 3 of them that had intelligent eyes, just youngies, right? Yeah, just young people, you know, thinking they were doing something good. I said, why are you calling me and us racist when we are not? Why? Why are you doing that? Because, I said, no, we're not racist. We're not racist. We're not bigots. We're not anti-Semites. We're actually against all that. So why are you calling us something that we are not? You are prejudging us, prejudgment. Racism is a category of prejudice. You are the ones who are doing that. Why? And they started giving me different excuses. And you know, something amazing happened. They stopped trying to push us off the street. And the banner, they were holding this banner. It was a big one, and it just started flopping down. And they started talking amongst each other, and basically saying to each other, actually, we really don't know these people. We're branding them as something that we don't even know if they are. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But
there's a famous scene. There's a famous scene in To Kill a Mockingbird. It's a little different, but it's similar about the humanizing of even one person, where Scout is sitting with her father in the back of the jail, and they're guarding the jail door because they're coming to lynch his client. And they come up with their pitchforks and their torches and all this and their guns. And Atticus saying, you know, what are you doing here? Whatever. And what does Scout do? She says, "Hi, Mr. So-and-so." You know, and she's like waving and saying, you know, hi to one of the guy by name.
Exactly.
And the guy's like, hi, you know, and that person, like taking that one individual out of the mob, taking him into himself and away from invite people into freedom and reason. They need an invitation sometimes, because they kind of get caught up in this thing, you know, like invite them and say, come on. Look, let's just talk. I invite you. You know, one of the slogans I keep talking about, the Celebrate Capitalism campaign, was we invite the world. We invite the world. We're not, you know, come over and let's just see what we have to say with each other. So yeah, you need to invite people to think. You need to invite people to do the right thing, to be good. Invite them. Keep inviting them. Keep loving them. Keep respecting them. I've actually a number of projects that I've done. The right-wing newspapers in Australia hardly ever interview me. It's usually only the lefty newspapers that interview me. And you know something? You won't believe this. I've never had a bad article written about me from the left. Interesting. Why do you think the right-leaning ones won't interview you? Because they're boring, and the left. Well, they are. They're boring, and they're mediocrities. Most of the right, with the exception of the new media, you know, like the Ben Shapiro's, the Milo Yiannopoulos', the Mark Steins, the Deb Philmans, all this the new heroes of the media. I'm in that category now. To me, you are. Oh, so why not? Well, thank you. Hey, come on. Someone give her another $10, will you? Come on. You freeloaders, throw some bucks this way. No. But I agree with you that the independent journalists are the only journalists we have now. We don't have journalists anymore. The lefty journalists always did good write-ups on me. For one thing, I'm an ex-Marxist. So I know my Marxism pretty well, and I know where these guys are coming from, and I respect them. And also they're very interested. Why would someone who was a Marxist now be a free marketer? And I always have the same answer for them. I said, look, I'm proud for the reasons that I entered Marxism, and I'm proud for the reasons that I left, because it's the same reasons. The reason was
that I was looking for a system, a solution of rationality and science. And Marx promised that. But after years of trying and trying, I couldn't find it. It was just a pile of dogma. And I left for the same reason. And at that point, that lefty journalist says, yeah, to themselves, yeah, I believe in reason and rationality and science. They can relate to that. And then when they say to me, but isn't capitalism about monopolies and the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer? And I know they're always going to ask that question. And I say, well, actually, capitalism is not about money. As I said before, it's about freedom and creativity. The premise of capitalism is that I own my life. You own your life. And I want a system where nobody can take your life, your body, your mind, your accomplishments from you, whether you want to do poetry, you want to start a school, you want to travel, you want to make $1 million. It's your life. I own my life. That's capitalism.
Yep, exactly.
Another.
Exactly. It
Okay,
doesn't have to be.
Money. Come on, money.
And now he's like, okay, now it's not the money. So that it's very interesting. But what I'm noticing is the thing that about today is that makes it that's so different from the prior pushes with the Marxists and the different things is today they're waging a direct assault on reason and science, and they're now saying those are bad.
There are people on the left today, Marxists, who cannot relate to there's a myth out there, and I don't know anyone else that's saying this except me, but actually the postmodernists are not lefties. Actually, they have they don't have any connection with the traditional left. The traditional left did believe in principles. Stupid principles, but they were still principles. They did believe. Oh yeah. You know, I'm talking from experience.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But the postmodern project is not the left-wing project. It's not the socialist project. It's not even the communist project. Now, don't take my word for it, but I invite you to study that. Study Marxism, study some of the socialist writers, and you'll find very little resemblance between classic leftism and postmodernism. Postmodernism is a hijacking of the left, believe it or not, and a hijacking of all sorts of other things too. A hijacking of mysticism, a hijacking of it's a system of plunder, like spiritual and material plunder. So the problem is here. If we misidentify the postmodernists as left-wing, as Marxists, then we're shooting blanks. We're hitting the wrong target.
Interesting.
See?
Okay.
I just put that to you.
I mean, even James Lindsay has said it would be wrong to call it Marxist. He said it's Marxian in that they have sort of borrowed terminology and certain concepts, right. But that's like you exactly said, they've like parasited off of it. You know,
yeah, they've repurposed it in the same way that. Am I allowed to be critical of Islam on this show?
Go for it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm just saying, if you look at, if you read the Quran, you'll find lots of references to Judaic and Christian figures and events. But if you look at the Judaic project and the Christian project, it bears no resemblance to the project of Muhammad. No resemblance. Like even the Christian heretics of that era, still believed in love and logos and life. They kind of twisted things in the Bible and that sort of stuff. I'm not religious, but I've read a lot of the Bible, and in the original Greek, by the way, but not the Hebrew version. They repurposed it. It's like this: if there's a boat out there. Okay, let's just imagine there's a boat out there, and I now build an extra cabin on that boat, and I paint the boat and I rename it. It's still a new kind of boat. But if I take one of the parts of the boat and take it back to my home and make a coffee table out of it, that's repurposing. That's a different project. It's not an extension of the boat. It's a complete rematerializing, reconstructing. So postmodernism uses the appearance but it repurposes. It's a different project. It's a project of plunder and enslavement. Whereas even the old left their project, despite their faulty tools, were projects of liberation and equality. Which, you know, and I'm obviously I'm an ex-lefty and I'm an Ayn Rand person, an objectivist. So I'm saying it's a very different project. So
Right.
I just put that to you and to your readers, to your viewers, to make that distinction. Which is, it's okay to call them lefties, you know, within a certain context, because it's an easy way to talk. But if you really want to find the kill shots to knock these sons of bitches out, to demobilize them, to neutralize them, treat them as what they are, not as what they're not, because you're firing blanks otherwise.
It's a good point.
Go for the kill shot. Go for the heart. Go to their homeland and crush them.
Right. And, you know, whenever you try to explain that they're trying to enslave, they're trying to plunder, they're simply trying to destroy. I mean, they are like a version of nihilists. They just want to destroy. They even use words like deconstruct and decenter and de this and de that. They put the prefix D in front of so many things that they're announcing what they're going to do, destroy.
Don't be fooled by that, Deb. That's another myth, I'm afraid. And please, let's disagree on this if you want to.
No, I'm interested. If I'm wrong, please educate me.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just going to share with you my observations from several years of studying this stuff in depth, and that is there certainly are nihilists among them, but when they try to destroy, let's put it this way: if someone commits an act of terrorism, they might blow up a car and the people in it, or blow up a building. So are they trying to blow up everything? No, they're trying to paralyze you so that you can become their cash cow. So they can then, they're trying to make you pliable and malleable. They're trying to deaden your will. They're trying to demoralize you. So the destruction, whether it's pulling down a statue of Abraham Lincoln, that's not because they want to destroy everything. That's because they want to get you into a state where you will submit.
Just like Islam.
Hey, how about that, eh?
Just like
uncanny parallel, isn't it? Uncanny parallel. The project is submission. It's not destruction. The terrorism is a means to an end. The goal is to have you working for them. They are parasites, and they need to kind of stun you, knock you out, deaden your will, and from then on, you work for them. You are a dhimmi.
I actually feel a lot better now. A lot better now. Yeah, because
I failed in that case.
No, what I mean is I have more faith in us as Americans to refuse to submit to the level that they're going for than I had in our because I believe if they were going to try to destroy and they did gain control of the literal firepower to destroy, they could probably do that because we're outgunned and we're, you know, in that respect, we're outgunned. But if what you're telling me is they don't really want to destroy, they want the fancy cities and the pretty stuff and the nice things.
Submission.
They just want us to like be the little worker drones doing all their stuff for them. I don't see that working long term.
Once it's exposed, for what it is, there is no red-blooded American that will put up once, because they are the enslavers, and they are not just enslavers. As I said before, they want to generate slaves who are designed to, in turn, generate slaves. So it's a new form of it.
Well, they've already succeeded. University.
The old slavery, which enslaved Negroes, blacks, did not train the blacks to be slave creators. See what I mean? So in fact, the postmodern movement, could you imagine, you'd think there was nothing worse than slavery, right?
Right.
But leave it to the postmodern left to come up with something that is actually more evil than slavery, a system, a dynamic to enslave people in a way that makes them enslavers of others.
Right.
Now
they started the universities. They took these college students who are doubly enslaved because they're in debt up to their eyeballs. They paid for the privilege of being mentally enslaved and trained to go and create new little slaves in their students.
Exactly.
And
is that brilliant or not?
It's sick. I mean, I'm not a religious person either, but if there were a Satan, that's Satan. That right there is Satan.
Well,
that's Satan. So what is this? It says, so does the new administration...
Hey, Jeff!
So does the new administration mimic mimic that philosophy in your opinion? I think he's asking the Biden administration.
In your opinion, I think it's. Oh, thank you, Jeff, for that question. I see. Yes, not just money. It's actually I've got to work for the money. Okay, fine. I think they're captive of it, and I think there's what happens is that you usually have an alliance. You have an alliance of evil and stupid and cuckoo, and they have always made up they've always made up a brotherhood. They've always made up an alliance, and you know, one does the dirty work for the other. So it's hard to tell where the line. It's hard to tell where stupidity ends and evil begins, or the other way around. So if you look at Muhammad's early followers, for 11 years, Muhammad was in Mecca, and he had about, some say 100, maybe 150 followers. Okay, he did not use violence at that point. It was not a religion of peace even back then. That's a myth that the Meccan period of Islam was a peaceful segment. But the point is, if you look at the kind of people that he gathered around me, they were the dregs of society, the dregs. So you always get the dregs, the evil, and the stupid, the dupes, working together. And if you can break that link anywhere, you will kill the beast. Bill Warner, who writes on Islam, Bill Warner, check him out. He's a terrible speaker, but his ideas are brilliant. You can check out his videos. He's a super guy, really super guy. He has a very interesting concept, a very interesting strategic concept. He calls it near enemy and far enemy. The far enemy are the jihadists. Very hard to do anything about them. All right, and this applies to postmodernism. The near enemy are the people who sometimes inadvertently have compromised and become conduits for the far enemy, the big bad. And I think that we can all deal with the near enemy, because they don't even know they're an enemy sometimes. They think that they're doing the right thing. Anyway.
No, but that's really interesting. And so, but I've wondered that myself. I've thought, you know, obviously the current administration, the current government in the United States benefits from all this woke nonsense. Okay. They obviously benefit, because if what you're going for is power and money and all that, then these people are going to deliver, right? But, or you think they are. But I've always wondered, like, are they working together, or are they just going, hey, that's a phenomenon going on we can use? So that's what I can't figure out is, does he really believe in it? Because he's about to try to get Congress to appropriate $1 billion to pay for more of this.
Doesn't matter if he believes in it. It doesn't matter. Look, sometimes evil is accomplished because evil is the goal, and sometimes evil is accomplished because evil is in the process. If I, Barboo, what's the next capital city near Cincinnati? The next state? That's
Columbus.
Columbus. Okay.
So in Ohio.
If I say, no, let's go to Kentucky. What's in Kentucky?
Oh, so then you would have Louisville is close to Cincinnati.
Okay, yeah. Louisville. So let's just say you're in Cincinnati and you're in a car and you say, I want to get to Louisville. Okay. And so that's your goal. All right. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if you're in a car and you say, I just want to get to this next step, that's all I'm doing, this process. And I want to get to this next step. And eventually that will, without you even intending to get to Louisville, if you keep traveling in the direction of Louisville, you will get to Louisville. Just like controls in capitalism, as Ludwig von Mises pointed out, and Ayn Rand, controls breed controls. You may not want totalitarianism, you just might want progressivism, a bit of interventionism, but do that long enough and you will end up in totalitarianism. So it doesn't matter whether Joe Biden intends to create a nation of enslaved people or not. Whether he's part of the process or part of the evil destination, he's going to get there anyway, the way he's going, and the way, not just Joe Biden, but all these jihadists, these postmodern jihadists. Some of them have a goal. They love the idea of power, and others just simply want to go to the next step. And the next step, and it's not rebutted, You know something, I don't blame them. I don't blame the left and the postmodernists. I blame, as Barboo knows, our side. We have not fought the fight. We have not put up the debate. We have trusted these mediocrities in all these think tanks that kept telling us, oh, vote, give us the lower house, and then we'll see if we can do something. We give them the lower house. Oh, we also need the upper house. We give them the upper house. Oh, we can't do anything until we get the presidency. Oh, give us the presidency, and then they undermine the presidency. I'm just saying these are the mediocrities. Mediocrities.
No question about it.
Don't trust them ever again. Don't trust your friends. Don't trust your colleagues until they demonstrate, they prove it. Yep. Let's see the results. Let them prove it.
Yep.
And meanwhile, treat them nicely and say, what is it? What's that Reagan used to say? Trust but verify.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true because I always blame the people who, are sitting around privately going, this is terrible. This is what they're doing. It's just terrible. And I'm like, and as long as you're sitting in your little echo chamber telling everybody how terrible it is, you're doing nothing. You're worse. You're the bigger part of the problem because it's bad and you're doing the banality of evil. You're doing nothing.
Yeah, but what about the people who we give millions of dollars to in think tanks who say, oh, we are doing something. Here's another paper. Here's another seminar.
Crap. They're full of crap.
That's right. They're pretenders.
They're not doing anything. Because, and I've noticed this even with this current fight or whatever you call it. I see people and they're like, oh, I'm going to write long form pieces about it on Substack. And I'm like, that's wonderful. And you write beautifully. And however many people subscribe to your Substack will see it and enjoy it. And they probably already agree with you. It's the people who are willing to go out there and in just their own town, in their own coffee house, in their own workplace, in their own whatever it is. And, they're just going to actually open their mouth like I did today at the hair place. There's a brand new person, never went to her before. And I'm sitting there talking and I'm, venturing forward, throwing little tidbits out, not intentionally, just I'm going to have a conversation with my daughter because I have this opportunity to sit with my daughter and have a conversation with my daughter. I happen to be at the hairdresser. So she's going to hear my conversation. And no, I'm not going to self-censor because I'm afraid that people will think of me. I'm not going to do that. So whether she agreed or disagreed, I mean, she was very sweet. She didn't say negative, but it wasn't my concern. I'm there she's doing a job I'm paying and I'm with my child. I'm going to have a conversation. I'm not going to be antagonistic or nasty, but I'm having a private conversation in a place where I, feel it's public in the sense that I'm allowed to speak. I'm not saying insulting, nasty things. And this is what people don't do. The second they walk out their door, they sanitize. Don't say anything. Shh, quiet. Shh, don't say what you think about the news. Don't do this. Don't do that. I refuse. I categorically refuse to do it. And if that means that people are like, if people are going to split like, little cockroaches and run off to their hidey holes as they hear me, that's their problem. That's on them. That's not on me.
You're a fighter. You're a fighter. And that's.
But that's what fighting looks like. It doesn't mean even having a YouTube channel. It doesn't mean that. It just means go about your freaking business. If you're in the checkout line at the grocery store with your best friend and you see some piece of news and it pisses you off and you want to say to your best friend, can you believe this crap? You should be able to say, can you believe this crap out loud in the grocery store? Because guess who feels perfectly comfortable to do that? The other side, they feel perfectly comfortable to do that. So if you're going to go, I can't because they're going to hurt me, they're going to hurt you.
Well, it's surprising when you do that, how many people don't hurt you. When we were in the US, it's surprising. Yes. So it's surprising how many people find it refreshing. In the US, we were, before the restrictions, we'd go to the US every year and stay with my wonderful, wonderful mother-in-law, Ruth. Hello, Ruth. If you're watching, and every time we went somewhere, I'd say, "Oh, this is my mother-in-law, Ruth. She's 92 and she voted for Donald Trump." And I just do that for a lark, And Ruth loves it actually. And it's amazing how many times someone goes, "Oh, sweet little old lady." What? And then we start joking, and they come out all right. Nothing bad comes of it.
Right?
They have a joke.
Because real life isn't Twitter. Now I suppose if you live in downtown Portland and you're an insane person, then maybe you have a problem. But the vast majority of the United States is not populated with Antifa.
Even there, I told you before, I've been interviewed mainly by lefties who know that I'm anti-environmentalism, pro-capitalism, an objectivist, an ex-Marxist, and I've never had a bad write-up. Maybe the day will come, but so. You'd be surprised in life who end up being your friends and who ends up being your enemies. The people who you thought would be your natural friends end up being your enemies. The people who you thought we were sure would be your natural enemies end up being your friends. It's very surprising. So be open to that. Give people a chance to decide whether they want to be friend or enemy. And most people will be friends.
Most people,
Most
I
people will be
believe that.
friends.
I think
Have a
that's
good
true.
sense of humor. Have a good sense of humor. Respect them. And don't try to proselytize on them. Try and learn from them, whether they're Marxists or postmodernists or Muslims or anybody. Try and learn from them in a sincere way, not to ambush them. And you'll be surprised that you will become friends and fellow travelers. It's
Interesting.
I'm very optimistic.
I haven't been able to have an actual conversation that went that direction with a postmodernist. I'll be honest. I've tried, but it hasn't gone well. It hasn't gone well. But I mean, I understand. I agree with your point, but I think there is a point of living in unreality where there's a psychopathy to it that makes it like trying to have an intelligent conversation with a drug addict, like a really far gone drug addict, where you're trying to speak reason to somebody who's abandoned that sense. Like,
when you say trying to speak reason, if you're trying to persuade them.
No, but I mean, even just to have a conversation where you say, so tell me what you like about this, or tell me how you found what you found interesting about this, or how you feel this will improve things. I'm just really curious to understand your position. And again, not to ambush, just to find out. And you don't get answers. You get more questions. Like, for example, the live stream that I think Barboo watched it, where I was with, Carl, and we were commenting. One of the people involved, because Will Roche.
She's a cutie.
Yeah. So Will Roche,
you, darling.
Will Roche was sincerely trying to ask questions, and he was told, we can't have this conversation until you first agree with these premises. And that, for somebody like us, is a bridge too far. I can't even invite you to have a conversation if your approach to life is, before I accept your invitation, I need you to agree with my premises. That's not.
It's a con, Deb. It's a bluff and it's a con. It's a bluff and a con. Somewhere in there, there's a humanity in that person. Somewhere in there, there's a prisoner, someone who's enslaved himself or herself and wants to get out. I don't know. Maybe it's an act of faith that I think that way, but I sometimes do this thing where I show people a map of the Middle East, and I say, what do you see? They say, I see like a billion Muslims. I say, you know what I see? I see a billion potential apostates. A billion potential apostates.
I love your optimism. I'm just like, I would just bathe in it. Like, can I just have this wash over me? Because I need this. I mean, I went through like a little mini crisis last week where I was like, I don't know how much longer I can do this, because there's an amount of exposure to postmodern thought, even when you're studying it, that can cramp your brain and make you frustrated and angry that people are flocking to this and spending your money on it, spending your taxpayer dollars on it to teach it to small children, tiny little children.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like this sense of desperation and rage just washed over me. I got so frustrated, but then I decided, no, you know what I'll do is I'm going to do what Americans do, which is I'm going to be constructive. I'm going to turn this into something where I am waging a parallel fight. I'm working on the parallel system. I can't save that system. I want a parallel system. I want to be part of that.
Some people can try to save it, but that's not your cup of tea.
No.
So you do it your way. Do it your way. Because you got to, for a start, to enter the system, you have to be comfortable with the bureaucratic mentality. And some people are, and some people are not. So, Deb, just follow your dreams and fight it your way. You cannot look at what other people are doing and do it their way. If you do it your way, you will succeed in your area, and the ripple effects, you don't even know what they're going to be. You just never know.
Well, right now, I just love the idea of finding these creative people to just come on and talk about their story, their life. Like, what do you do? How do you learn? How did you become who you are? What do you do all day? What did you overcome? What was your process? Take me through the process. How many times did you fail? Please tell me all about all your failure. Because the other thing kids don't understand and they're not told is an okay thing is, and I don't like failure. I don't like that word, but whatever would be a better word for the attempt, the part in the process where you stumble, but then you get back up, whatever that is, because it's not really a failure.
Bounce back.
Yeah. I mean, even Thomas Edison talked about that. It's like, I didn't succeed. I didn't fail. I just learned 1,000 ways not to do something.
Yeah.
None of them were failures. They were just like, okay, that won't work. And we need to encourage kids to see that as a positive. Well, that's one more thing I don't have to try, next thing, and
and they want to learn it.
They
want to learn
do.
it.
And I think it will give them a lot of hope.
If you expect them to want to learn it, then you will orient everything that you do in such a way that they will pick that up.
Well, and that's
because,
what I don't like about what they're doing is the expectations are so low.
Yeah, that's right. So no, it can be done. I don't know. I just believe it can be done, and America has to lead the way in this. I mean, there are other countries doing great work. Other people in other countries, in Britain, in Canada, doing great work, in Australia. But really, it begins and ends with the USA, in my view. The USA and maybe Israel are the experiment. This is the experiment for liberty, and America has never gone through this particular version of evil that it's got to fight against. But like I said, the learning machine will learn. We will adapt, we will evolve, and we will grind our enemies into dust, and we will take back what is ours. So before we end off, can I read a little passage from Barboo's novel?
Yes, please.
Okay, so A Turn for the Worst.
Okay.
Chapter 1 teaches pests. The blinds were closed. The door was shut. Only artificial light shone down on Eberhard Helton and his 5th grade students. The light reflected in the dark, glassy surface of his large mahogany desk and disappeared into the dull black platform that raised the desk a foot above the floor. This platform had been paid for by Helton himself, for the mahogany desk was his own and had to be protected from small fingerprints. The desk sat back 2 feet from the edge of the platform, and no one's footprints but Helton's were allowed to appear on this private ledge. And there he stood, looking down on his students, taller than the top of the blackboard and as straight and trim as the ruler in his hand. His grey suit was as neatly perfect as the rows of desks lined up absolutely straight according to the squares of the linoleum floor. The rows were straight, that is, except for one desk. I wonder whose desk that was. That's Astrid's desk.
It's Astrid's desk.
That begins the story. Okay?
Oh, wonderful.
Except for one desk. Except for one desk, Astrid's desk.
Well,
Freedom.
but the thing is that, and what they've done now, okay, so you can hear that passage and you hear like, oh gosh, obviously the desk and the straight lines, but now they say, well, we'll put the desks in a circle and it will be better. And as if somehow that was the whole point. It's kind of like, no, if you still have the same attitude that you're the boss of the room, and that the children have to do what you say, and the assignment is what you say, and whatever, then it doesn't matter if you put a circle, if you sit on the floor, if you're sitting on little tufts of fluff. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's not about that. It's about the mindset that says, I get to put the desks the way I want to put the desks. And I get to decide what you're going to learn today. And the problem is, people say, but it has to be that way in public school. And I'm like, precisely. It does. Because when you are...
I was going to say that I'm not against discipline, and I'm not against some forms of conformity when it's chosen. Because, for example, if you go and learn martial arts, you learn certain routines. If the conformity, like if you want to be a soldier, then you learn certain things by rote and you master them. If only what they wanted you to learn by rote was better than what you'd actually learn through your own, off your own bat.
Correct.
That would be great. But not only are they trying to force you to conform, what they're trying to force you to conform to is a load of bollocks as well.
Exactly.
So
exactly. It doesn't matter how you put the desks. It's like, you know, and they have to do it because if you create a system run by government, then under the law, equality under law, everything has to be equal. Well, people aren't all equal. We weren't born with the same interests or needs and all that. And it's
Except me.
But we have to, they have to do it that way. That is the process is evil. The process itself, it's baked into the system. The method is the madness. So anyway, but Barboo, you've been very quiet.
Yes, I know. Well, I'm not a pushy person.
Yes. Well, is there anything?
She's pushing me away.
Is there anything you would like to say to close us out on this wonderful conversation? This has been amazing. And I am so filled with ideas now, and I feel so much better. I feel so much more optimistic. So thank you. But what would you like to say to fit? You get to have the last word, my dear.
Okay, well, if you would like to see the process by which an unusual little kid actually worked out her ideas and became a little kid who at 5 could see what was wrong with compulsory school and why then school became hell for me. You can see how that developed and what my mom and my parents did.
Is that the right address?
That's the right address. So go there and you can find out all about that.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic. And I'm going to get to work
on beautiful.
I'm going to get to work. And you please tell me when you've made more progress so I can see the Eurekipedia. I want that to become a real thing. I need that to be real. I need that. I need that. We all need that in our lives. So the Eurekipedia is one of the most fabulous ideas I've ever heard of. And I'm going to try to work. It is. Do you know
thank you.
A site like that, if that was like, let's say it was a website where all of that was contained, and that kids could just go hang out there. Just go hang out there. If you need to be online, you want to be online, go spend an hour in the Eurekipedia. That's your punishment. Yeah. You know, like you didn't do the dishes. You got to spend an hour in the Eurekipedia. I'm kidding, but
that's I get you. That's you've given me a new perspective on it. Actually,
kids would literally eat it up. Just like that whole idea. They don't know half of this. They're not being taught any of this in school. And one of the things I'm going to do, I'm now motivated to do a whole separate series of videos of like what they're missing out on. Okay. And that's one of them. It's just the brilliant stories. The reason I loved history so much as a child was stories. I loved stories of people from the past and like you said, overcoming and getting through things. And just how did people come to this country? What did they leave behind? Why did they do it? Oh my God. This was absolutely fascinating to me. And I think if you can show children that all that history is people's stories. It's the stories of individual journeys to the next step of freedom, ideally. And that's what we should be teaching them to celebrate.
That's our story.
That's our story.
These are the stories that empower us. These are the stories
Not the stories of oppression.
That inspire us.
Oppression isn't where it ends. It's where it starts. That's where it started. And then we came here. And then if there were issues, we move forward. You don't just stay. Like I've said, and a couple of my friends who make videos as well, the story of Tulsa is not that it burned down. It's that it was built and then it was rebuilt. It's the people who built it, why they built it, what it was, how it was successful, how bad a thing envy is, and then it was rebuilt. That's the true story. That's the good story, but they don't want to talk about that. They just want to see it as a story of destruction. And I want kids to learn the real story of triumph over this stuff. You know, that's what makes life. Life wasn't meant to be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Right. So my grandfather used to say, he'd say, life is not a dream in the clover. Onto the walls, onto the walls, onto the walls and over.
Beautiful.
And that's what That's what I used to do. So, all right.
These are some of the I Love Capitalism mugs that Bubble has hand illustrated.
Where can I get that? Where can I get one?
No, they're nowhere. They're no. We just do them at home for our meetings. So we've got a whole box of these mugs, and Bubbles illustrated them. They're I Love Capitalism.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, they're
Oh
real
my
sweet.
gosh, I need one of those mugs. What do I have to do to get one?
All right, Bubble. Will you illustrate a separate cup for Deb?
I will. I'll pay for shipping. I really want one. I really want one.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So
we'll get one to you, Deb. Okay. Thank you to everyone and your comments. I'm sorry I couldn't follow the comments as we were talking, but thank you to everyone for your participation and comments. Really nice to meet you all. I'll read them all later.
Great. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Val G, for your wonderful suggestion. I have written it down. I have notes. And for everybody who participated, thank you, Jeff. Again, thank you, DeVille. Thank you, everybody. This was fabulous. Please send this to people to watch so they too can be inspired. And if you know anybody who fits the category of creative, like a creative hero, to come and talk to me on this show about how they do what they do, whatever it is. I don't care if they build decoys. I want to talk to them. Okay. So thank you so much. And I will talk to you later. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye. See ya.